In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can live trace an illustration done on paper, import it, and then edit it to create a pattern for your lamp design. So let's just clean things up here. I've got to first import the drawing. So I go to File, and I'm going to hit the Place button. So Place, get it from my desktop. When you hit Place, you'll see that it sort of sticks to your cursor. So you can then just click, and then it'll come in. If it's too big like this, you can just shrink it down. Remember to hold Shift so you don't lose any proportion. So to live trace, you want to make sure you've got your workspace set up as well. So go to Window, make sure you're in the Essentials Classic workspace, and then you'll see Image Trace is just available up the top. Go to the drop down, and for the work we're going to be doing, you want to use the black and white logo setting. So when you click it, you'll see that it traces the outside. In order for us to work with it, you need to press onto Expand. Once you've hit Expand, what you'll see is an outline. So this outline is going to come through. It actually traces the white area as well. You want to delete that, so get your direct selection tool, white arrow, and then click the space around your black lines, and then just press delete. Now what you can do is you can start working with this information to create a pattern. I've done a few different variations here. So the first thing I'd probably recommend to do is to clean up any loose lines. So you can do that with our lasso. So say, for instance, I don't want any of this. I can just select that, delete it. Little individual bits here, you might want to just select those with direct selection tool. Hold Shift to collect any strays, and then press delete. You might find you've got a little gap in the middle here, so you can just select that with your direct selection tool, press delete a couple of times, and that'll get rid of that. Say you find these lines here a little bit sketchy, a little bit jagged. What you can do is you can smooth these out. So if I just select here, it understands this is a whole group, so I can go Object, then I can go to Path, and I can simplify. So this here shows you a preview live, and then you can just drag down your points. So that means anchor points. There's 38 little anchor points there. So you might see your little stray section. Once again, direct selection tool, delete, delete. If you wanted to work with, say, this bit individually, and maybe duplicate that, you could just select that with the lasso, and you can press Command G, and now you'll see here, if I open up my layers, I've got a group for this section. So yeah, I'm going to keep these. I'm going to delete these ones. Lasso and delete. Now, the other thing I might want is to add a circle, so I can kind of recreate the pattern a bit more neatly. So I'll just go to my shapes tray, pop that open, circle, hold down Option or Alt and Shift, scale that up. And to duplicate that around the outside here, there's a few ways you could do this. So you could select all the pieces with your selection tool, and then you could go to Command C, Command V. You could rotate it and use your little guides to line that up. You could do the same thing, Command C, Command V, Shift and rotate, and then line that up. And here you can just group those all together, and now I've got a nice neat little group for my pattern design. How you create patterns is up to you. You can get as technical or as simple as you like. However, what you must make sure of is that when you're working, you should be working in your make a case document. So make sure you've got that open. I'm just going to open that for you so you can remember what that looks like. So go to make a case, and you can decide whether you're going to work on the circular box, the polygonal box, or the square box. For this example, I'll just do the square box. So I'll just grab this little pattern I've already made and I'll paste it in place. So when you're creating these designs, you want to make sure you can select all these labels and you can group them and then hide them. They'll be useful when you go to do your radial design. So just you can call them labels, keep them on a separate layer. So just remember that top one, top and bottom. Obviously, you're not going to have any information cut out on the bottom. And then I can go to labels and I can just hide all these except these two. So I've got a pattern here, something I can use to repeat and alternate in my make a case template. Before I do any pattern work though, I want to make sure I'm not putting my designs so they're actually cutting and overlapping onto my pieces. Now remember, your pieces will need to be 0.001 millimeters for the stroke when you cut it, but for the demonstration I'm just going to make it a little more easy to see. So good idea to also give yourself a couple of red barriers. So just make a little red box and make a little 6x6 cube and position that so that you don't get too close to the edges of your box template. So we're going to have a little cube here, and you might also want to do, have a little perimeter, something like this. Just a little guide so you don't actually get too close to the edge. This will tell you when it's square with a little pink line, which is handy. And that one you can just give it a no fill red stroke, and then we can start designing inside here. So a few ways you could do this. You could just manually experiment, do some copies like I'm doing here. So I can probably fit 3 across. If I've copied it once, holding Option and Shift, I can then press Command D, and then that will paste it exactly the same distance from the last piece. So that's quite useful. So there's one design done. The only thing I need to do to finish this off is to make sure that all my pieces are actually with a black stroke and no fill, and they are 0.001 millimeters for the stroke width. So that'll work out nicely. One idea completed. Just going to copy this little template. So once again, make sure you've got plenty of space between the edge of your box design. All right, now another way you could make a pattern, you could get a little bit more complex, and you could, rather than just having it straight up and down, you could start by rotating, and you can work with maybe utilizing a bit more of the space. So once I've copied one, press Command D, and then it'll copy it the exact distance you copied the first one. So really quick way to do this. You've got 4 in a row, Option Shift, and then you can press Command D, and that looks good. All I need to do, select all these individual bits, direct selection tool, eyedropper, select something that is the right thickness, 0.001, and that'll cut out nice and neatly. I've got 2 ideas. I just need one more idea. I'm going to show you how you can use the grid to also make a pattern. Let's flip this. So if I go up to Object and then I go to Repeat and Grid, you can save a little bit of time and just lay this out without worrying about copying and pasting. However, with the grid, you have these options to sort of stretch out bits and overlap them, which can be very useful. Just bear in mind, anything that you overlap, you'll need to be aware that you have merged those when you go to cut it. So I'm just going to keep it simple like this for you. And don't forget, when you're using any tools like Radial or the grid, you'll have to go to Object, and you'll need to expand those lines. So expanding it means that you've committed to finishing with the tool, and then it doesn't have those manipulators anymore. So you watch this, just leave those things ticked, okay, and now I can go in and individually edit these pieces. So you could customize this further and delete and create some variation like that. And one more time, don't forget, if you want these to be cut out, you need to make sure no fill, black stroke, and 0.001 for your stroke weight. Right, there's 3 ideas. All pretty simple, nothing too complicated, but I'm going to leave that tutorial there. Key things to remember: when working with your Maker Case template, don't go any closer than 6 millimeters from the edge. Make sure any bits that you want cut out are going to be 0.001 millimeters in thickness. And if you want to, you can move things manually. You can move things in groups, and you can also use the grid to lay out your different pieces. Hope that helps, and good luck with your designs.